welcome back to my YouTube channel. Excuse me looking a hot mess today. I've literally not had time to even wash my hair yet. I have bath though, so it's all good. But I kind of just wanted to do just more of a sit down and chat video today, and just kind of give you some links on some of the people that I am now listening to, because I did a video back on my YouTube channel a while ago and listed some of the people that I listened and learned from, and that list has definitely changed. There are some people in that list now that I actually don't listen to anymore, just because I don't actually believe what they're doing now is actually that great. So my list has definitely changed. I want to talk a little bit more about that. Hopefully some of it will resonate with you guys and you might want to look them up as well. So if you are interested, keep listening. So the first thing I get a lot of questions about is like why I believe in God, what makes me think there is a God, etc., which is obviously like a very big question, and everybody's going to have different answers to that. I think to some degree it is sometimes like just a feeling, and for me it's like all the research that I've done over the past 10 years, even some of it obviously I've been deceived by, I think has all kind of led me to that same answer. And a lot of the time when I talk about it, I always say, like, when you research into different things, which a lot of other people may have looked into, you know, like the Fibonacci sequence, sacred geometry, even human biology, like just different parts of quantum physics. To me, this world is so intricate and so detailed and in sync. There is no way it could have just been like a bang and then we're just here, like this detailed and this in sync. Like to me, there had to be like a higher consciousness, or like to me there had to be a God, higher consciousness that has created this, because it's so detailed. I was just like, it has to be created by some type of intelligent consciousness, because there's no way that it could just bang and then be this intricate, in sync and detailed. When you start looking up things like the Fibonacci sequence and all these kind of things, like it's fascinating to me. It's just like there's no way that just happened. And another thing that's worth looking into is obviously Darwin's theory. I 1,000,000% do not believe that we come from monkeys. My first question will be, well, what happened to the ones that are still here? Are they just like the stupid ones that didn't develop or something? Like, and what happened to the in-between species? Where's the evidence of that? Like, that was another thing to me, and I was just like, that's strange. So I thought that was weird. And now I don't fully trust a lot of the science, because Greg Braden talks a lot about the law of attraction. I'm going to talk about that in another video. So I don't trust all of the science they talk about, but there was also some talk about the fact that our chromosome 2 came about so quickly that it was highly unlikely that it was pretty much impossible that we would have developed over time. So evolution could not have been a concept that would have fit. It was like kind of like bang and we were sort of here. And that was another thing that was quite interesting. Now, he spoke about us not being like, this is Greg Braden, spoke about us not being like the Neanderthals and how there wasn't enough DNA crossover. Now, I found this quite interesting, because my thoughts were, well, what does the Bible say about Neanderthals? So obviously I looked this stuff up, and it was quite interesting to find that they described it as us having a link to the Neanderthals, basically, which I also thought was very interesting. And when I was looking into the DNA difference, and correct me if I'm wrong because I can't remember the exact percentage now, but it was a very minute percentage. I think it was something like 1.3%, or I can't remember the exact figure now, but it was a really small percentage in DNA differences. And I thought the way they described it, when I've read certain interviews, they didn't mention how minute that was. And there was some writings of, there's a possibility obviously God may have made slight genetic changes, etc. So I found that very, very interesting as well, because to me I was like, there has to be some type of link, and I just found that interesting. So that was another thing to look into. So to me it does seem more like we were just kind of like here, and like I said, some of our chromosomes add up to that as well. So that was a very interesting thing to look into. For me, everything that I've researched over the years, and like I said, I don't get caught up in all this numerology stuff anymore in terms of like sorcery and things like that, but I've studied it in terms of just like awing at God's creation type thing, because it's so fascinating. Even when you look into like nature and just looking at everything, you just think, no, there has to be some type of intelligent designer. There's no way this just appeared. I find it crazy that people still think that. And it's even said on Darwin's deathbed that he admitted that he lied and he repented. And again, I need to look into this a little bit further, but someone very kindly in my DMs on my Instagram was talking about how he has some type of link with the royal family. I knew for a fact he was like a paid puppet. A lot of these scientists are, especially these very well-known ones. I'm not saying every single one, but a lot of them are working with these elite people for a bad agenda, and they are lying to suit their agenda. And this is the problem. And I think the exact same thing happened with that, because they had to give us some type of theory, otherwise people are going to question more. And this is the thing, they don't want people to be critically thinking and questioning. They want to give you the narrative, let that soak in, and you run with that. So you don't want to feel like, oh, I want to question this, or where do we actually come from? So by giving you a narrative, it stops that. And you get taught, and obviously it's taught in the school curriculum, so you can clearly see they're trying to brainwash you and program you with a certain narrative from a very, very young age, so you don't grow up questioning too much because you've been given something. There you go, take that, shut up, kind of thing, you know. So I thought that was very, very interesting as well. So for me, it's just, and the way certain things happen, like even with when you're going through prayer and certain things, and you ask for certain things to be shown to you, like I do not believe in coincidences. Like I've always said, how many coincidences do people need until it's literally mathematically impossible? And I just believe certain things are shown for you for a reason. And this is why sometimes even when things happen that don't seem so great, I always think, well, maybe there's a bigger picture to this. Obviously, we're not all knowing, and maybe we don't know like what the rest of that picture is. So we kind of have to leave it down to God. And to me, there's just too many things that have happened that are just, like I said, just too strange. And again, I often found the truth in the lies, because knowing that the demonic stuff is real, you have to know the other side is, because they can't be one and not the other. They come together. Like you can't believe in one and not the other. So because you can actually do certain things, and like I said, I would never suggest this and I would never go back into it, and luckily I didn't go that deep, but because you can do certain things to actually show this, you can do certain things to like initiate that world, or to kind of mess with that kind of stuff, and you will start seeing certain things. Like magic is real, and when you start seeing that, you think, if that is that real, then so is the other side. And I know it sounds strange, but I feel like I've heard a similar story listening to other people's podcasts and stuff lately. There's a lot of people that are saying the same thing, like over the past however many months, they feel like they've realized a lot more how real God really is and how deep things really are. And I've been saying, I feel exactly the same. I do think, I believe that our paths are pre-written to a certain degree. Like I've always said, I believe that certain things in our life are going to happen, but it's up to us how we go about it. And that's where our free will comes in, because nobody is being forced to worship God, whereas I feel like we are being forced into the Luciferian worship without even knowing. And this is the thing, like you will never be forced when it's God. And this is why I say, even when we pray for certain things and people think, oh, I prayed for this, but it didn't happen. It's like, well, sometimes that's not meant for you. And we don't know that. And that's the thing with the demonic world. You'll pray for certain things that you want and you'll get them, because the demonic world doesn't care what's good for you. It's trying to fuck you up anyway. Whereas with God, say for instance, you prayed for a job that you really wanted and you didn't get it. And you're like, oh, God didn't give me this job, blah, 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 blah. You don't know later on down the line, something bad could have happened at that job, where you might have like got into a really bad situation or been attacked, or something might have happened during that job that might have changed things for the rest of your life in a bad way, and you don't know that. The same way one morning you might end up missing something and think, oh God, I missed that class, but the same day on that road there was a really bad accident and you would have been there at that exact time. But you don't know something bad happening is actually preventing you from something even worse. So, and I do believe some things we're just not going to know. It's out of our control. We can't know everything. And I think we have to accept that we're not God, we're not all knowing. And I also think we have to accept the fact that we're not perfect. Obviously living in a world full of sin, built on sin, like this is Lucifer's world, like to some degree. I feel like it's hard, but I think God knows your heart, and we've just got to try to better ourselves literally the best we can, because it's very hard. And I think a lot of people give into the flesh. And this is another thing that, I mean, this is just my personal views, and I'm not like ever hating on people going out there and doing things in the flesh or standing up or whatever by any means. Like, I support people in doing things as long as it's in a peaceful way, by all means. But I do feel like a lot of us are in the flesh. And I saw a really good quote on Instagram about this the other day, where I feel like the devil's kind of got us in the flesh so much that we're fighting a spiritual war in the flesh, which is never going to be effective, because a lot of people say, oh, this is like a silent war, like World War III, this is like psychological warfare, it's a spiritual war. But then why are we all fighting in the flesh? And this is something I keep saying, and I'm not trying to go against people trying to put a good word out there and do things in the flesh. Like, honestly, I put my hands up for some people because they've worked so hard, and they got good hearts, you know. I'm not trying to say that we don't do anything in the flesh or anything like that, but I don't think there's enough spiritual warfare going on, and I don't think it's priority. Like, I personally don't think doing loads of stuff in the flesh will make the biggest of difference. I think we need to fight a lot more within the spirit, and it's very interesting when I was listening, and John Ramirez is a great one to listen to, so I'm going to put the link below. They do I think it's a 10-part short course on spiritual warfare, and I feel this is another thing. Like, again, I've always said I don't count myself as religious. I don't believe in the construct of a religion, but I do believe in Yeshua, I do believe in God, the history of the Israelites, I believe in the basis of the story. I also believe there's a lot of things that have been taken out of certain books. I don't believe there's any way they'll let us see like the original scriptures for its whole self. I don't think there's any way they'll put everything in there. I think it's definitely had man's hands on it 1,000,000%, and I think doing your research definitely shows this. I'd suggest people looking into that. There's lots of manuscripts that kind of contradict a lot of the Bibles we have today. So I definitely think that there's parts missing to some degree, or things added in, you know, but I'm not taking that away from the fact that the basis of the story is true, and I still think it's the most accurate, but I can never sit here and say, oh, it's 100%. I think we'd be foolish to do that, because they hide so much and deceive us all the time. So, you know, and like I said, I don't believe in the construct of religion anyway, so I don't particularly label myself as anything, but I don't think they're teaching this type of stuff, and I think that's being done on purpose. I feel like people just sort of very, like they say, lukewarm. Like, a lot of people talk about God, saying, you know, they know God, but I don't think God knows them, and that's something I'm trying to work on. I'm not saying I'm by anywhere near perfect, because boy, I'm not. There's things that I'm really trying to work on, but I'm aware of that, and I can admit that, and this is the problem. Like, by acknowledging it, you can then work on it, and that's what I think we need to do, because I think a lot of people in churches are accepting things that it's wishy-washy, you know, Jesus loves everyone and all that. No, I don't agree. If you're sinning and doing things that aren't right, Jesus isn't going to love you for that, sadly, you know, like, and same for me. So I think it's one of these things where churches aren't teaching how to defeat the devil. It's kind of just like, sit back, you know, whereas we need to be out there on the attack. And you can see that when you look at scripture and you look at parts of the Bible and they speak about Yeshua, you know, coming for war for these demonic entities. You know, you can't just sit back. We have to be there fighting, and I think this is the problem. People don't know how to fight, which is fair enough, in the spirit. We're only sort of taught that in the flesh, and this is where some of the problems are going. And I think they're purposely getting us in the flesh so we don't fight within the spirit. I think they're trying to keep us away from that as much as they can, and I think that's something we really need to work on, because like I said, it was John Ramirez's story where he was talking about when he was a Satanist, when he was a general in the Satanist world, and he was putting witchcraft on people, that the people that were putting out the prayers and people that were very much really following that life, it wouldn't work on them. And when they would put certain stuff out, it'd counteract the witchcraft. And I'm like, this is what we need to be doing, because we need to be hitting them from that angle, because this is the source of everything. And again, I feel like it's like getting to the symptoms, but we're not getting to the source. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there now, which is amazing, that have kind of woken up to what's going on with this whole situation we've been in for the last year. And they've started to see there's a lot of corruption. Same when you look at 9/11, there's a lot of people who are aware of that. But I still think there's a lot of people that are still not fully aware of the whole bigger picture, and I was definitely one of them, like wrapped up in this new agey stuff or wrapped up in the flesh and still aren't seeing the other side of it. And without seeing that, I think it's going to be very difficult to get where we need to get, and for us to get where we need to be in the afterlife. So I think now it is so important for people to start looking up this stuff. And I understand if you're not somebody that's, you know, been into this stuff before or looked into it, it can sound very strange. People are like, all that religious-y type, you know, rubbish, like people say that, but like I said, I don't get caught up in all of that. People just automatically label me as that, but that's them, that's not me. You know, I think there's other ways of looking at things without getting wrapped up in all that, because like I said, I don't believe in that anyway. And I think you don't have to be swept up in that to start to look into and believe this stuff. And I just really suggest that people start looking into it. Like I said, one of my favourite channels was Truth Unedited. Their History of Religion series taught me a lot. John Ramirez, definitely, like I said, Jenny Weaver. Isaiah is another really great channel that I've watched. I'm going to put his link below. He does a lot on different spirits, and when you actually start to listen to it, you're like, wow, like you don't even realize like certain things you battle within yourself, like just, you know, like, even not like voices in your head, like some people get it more extreme, which I do believe is possession. I honestly believe some things that are said to be mental health generally is possession, and I think that now with sickness, which I think I was missing before. I generally believe that can be a part of us getting sick as well. It's not just biological. I do think there's a spiritual aspect to that, which I kind of didn't touch on enough before, I don't think. But this is why I say to people, you've got to look at things from such a different angle. But Isaiah does a lot of stuff on you know, the different demons, and even like certain things you battle within yourselves, like temptations and urges or impulses you have to constantly battle. Like that is like battling demons. I think a lot of people have them and don't even know it. You know, even certain dreams you might be getting, you know, and stuff like that. Like I don't think people associate it. And I think a lot of psychosis is to do with that, and it's completely missed. And it goes the same with certain things, like when they say, oh, the law of attraction, there's no science behind it. Well, no, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work, because you can't prove the demonic world through flesh science in a way, you know. So it's like they're kind of missing out on that side of things. But I think, you know, if people really want to know, you can mess with it to find out how real it is, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people would get shocked. I don't want anyone to do that, obviously, but you know, I can't even say how real this stuff really is. And I honestly feel saddened that a lot of people don't believe that, and I think the devil's done a really good job at making people believe he doesn't exist, or that it's not a big deal. Because even with a lot of religious type people, I'm thinking, how can they say that but yet not see what's going on in the world today? If they know that if they know about the devil and they believe in it, how are they not seeing how it's translating today? How are they missing that? Like, I don't understand it. And if people say they believe in God and they trust in God, how are they letting what's going on now with all the face things and all this stuff, how are they letting that get to them? How are they in that much fear? Then you clearly don't trust your God. And this is the problem, because you're getting swept up into the Luciferian stuff and letting the fear get to you. You're not trusting and believing in God. And that's what shocks me even more, is seeing people that say they trust and believe in God going around like this, not trusting in what God's given them, like their natural immune system, and not believing in him. And I find that really strange. And I think it's something people really need to check themselves on. And I think now I 1,000,000% believe we're in end times. And I really think now is a time where we have to start to make changes, as hard as it is. I think a lot of people don't want to see the truth because they don't want to make the changes because it's too hard, or they like doing what they're doing. And don't get me wrong, it's hard. Like, I'm still having to change things now. I'm not saying I'm there yet. And I'm not saying you have to be 100% perfect, because I don't believe we can be as humans. You know, we're not Yeshua, we're not perfect. But I do believe we can get a lot closer. And I think now, if anything, like, I don't understand how people get so wrapped up in this materialistic world that they don't even worry about what comes next, when this is temporary and that's forever. Like, I think I've really had to let this hit home for me as well, because there's certain things I get wrapped up in here, and I have to keep repeating it to myself in the head. This is temporary, it's not important. And you have to program yourself, reprogram yourself, because they've programmed our subconscious in a certain way. So we have to battle that, and it's not going to change overnight, so we can't beat ourselves up about it, but we just have to try. And I think that's all that matters. And I think God knows our heart. I just think we live in a world now that's so superficial, like this whole satanic stuff with all the materialism and the social media and the, you know, all of this stuff they're pushing, you know, living a certain lifestyle, and we're watching other people living it, and kids are getting obsessed with it. And it's so sad to just see how many people get wrapped up in this superficial bullshit. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with having the odd nice thing. It's the value you put on it. And a lot of people are putting that money above God. Even I definitely did that at some points, and it's wrong. And I think this is where we're going wrong. Like, you can have something nice but not value it like that, you know. And I think the more you get, the more you should give. And I don't always see that happening. And I really do think morals have gone out the window. Like, when I look outside today, I'm like, we've lost who we are as humans. Like, we've lost who we are, even like the way we treat each other. Like, it makes me so sad just to see, like, I just see demons in so many people. Like, it's so sad that people have got so wrapped up in this. They've got no emotional control, and people think, you know, doing certain things or acting a certain way shows strength, when it actually just shows pure weakness. Because people have got no emotional control anymore, which means they're weak. It does not make you strong. And the way everything's so backwards, because obviously we know the devil's trying to invert everything, and we know the devil wants the throne kind of thing. You can see that today, and I just feel like a lot of the morals and standards have just gone completely out the window. Like, we're just accepting things today that I just feel like we should not be accepting. Like, I'm shocked how easy some of this stuff's getting accepted, you know. And it does start to make you worry a lot about where we're going to be in the next few years from here. And I do believe the good will always prevail, but I do believe we're going to go through a lot more crap first. I do believe things are going to get a lot harder, and I think we're going to have to stay strong and stick together the best we can, and then avoid the people who don't want to stick together. And to be fair, we are going to have to, I think, stand up and fight, because in the right way, of course, but because I just think we're not going to have a choice. And I think if we stay silent in this, it's going to put us in a deeper position. And do you really want to get to that point where you think you didn't stand up for God, you didn't stand up for your beliefs? You know, like, we can't sit here and be scared. I think it's a time where we have to come out, we have to talk, you know, and we have to kind of push this narrative, because otherwise I don't know where we're going to be. But yeah, I really pray for everyone. I really hope everyone's well in this time. If anyone's ever feeling down, you're always welcome to add me on my Instagram. It's on my banner on my main page. I always love to chat to people with my DMs, because it is a hard time. And like I said, it's not to say that you're not going to get down at times, but we do have to stay strong. And I think the closer you get with God, the kind of stronger you get. Like, we got to use that as our armor. We're not alone. God, Yeshua, always with you. We are not alone. And we just got to keep trying to work to do our best, because like I said, there's definitely a few things that I still need to work on to do better. But it's the fact that we can at least acknowledge that and admit where we got wrong to start with, because a lot of people can't do that. Accountability is not so common these days. But don't get me wrong, there are, although it sounds doom and gloom, I do believe there are still some amazing people out there, and I definitely believe the good is going to prevail in the end. I just think it's got to go through a cycle to get there, and I definitely think it will be worth it in the next life. So yeah, I hope people found that interesting. If you've got any other comments or thoughts, I would love to hear them, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye.